Lyra had always felt out of place. On Thalura, her homeworld, life moved with the precision of the stars themselves. Every Thalurian was expected to follow the patterns laid out for them. The work they would do, the knowledge they would master, and the roles they would play in the society that stretched across the luminous cities of their planet. But Lyra was different. From the moment she could think, she had been curious, restless, and unwilling to settle into the smooth, predictable life that everyone else seemed to accept without question. When she was young, Lyra would spend hours on the terraces of her family's sky-high dwelling, staring at the stars beyond Thalura's atmosphere. Her peers laughed at her dreams. "The sky is not for us," they would say. "We are Thalurian. We belong here, not out there among the stars." But Lyra could not silence the tug she felt whenever she looked at the night sky. She wanted more than rules and harmony. She wanted to explore, to understand, and to feel a connection that she had never found among her own kind. The cities of Thalura were magnificent and orderly. Towering spires reflected the planet's twin suns, casting golden glimmers across the streets below. Machines and alien constructs hummed with constant activity, maintaining the balance and efficiency that Thalurian society prized above all else. Every citizen knew their place, and deviations were frowned upon. Lyra moved through these streets feeling invisible, though she knew everyone noticed her oddities. She smiled when others frowned, asked questions no one wanted answered, and spent time in quiet corners, pondering possibilities no one else considered. Her loneliness had become a constant companion. She had tried to explain her thoughts to her family, to her peers, even to teachers, but every attempt ended in frustration. The more she shared, the more they distanced themselves. Lyra had begun to speak less, to hide her curiosity behind polite nods and carefully controlled expressions. Yet even in her silence, her mind wandered. She imagined galaxies of color and light, alien worlds teeming with life, and people who would see her for who she truly was. She had no friends, no confidants. She felt like she belonged nowhere. It was during one quiet evening on the observation deck of her family's dwelling that she first heard about the humans. They were a species from a distant system, far beyond Thalura's regular trade routes. Her uncle, who occasionally traveled to other planets, had whispered about them during dinner. "They are unpredictable," he had said, "bold, sometimes reckless, but strangely kind. They see things differently than we do." Lyra's heart had stirred at those words. Kindness was something she had rarely experienced among her peers. The Thalurian way was structured, efficient, and logical, but rarely warm in the human sense. Lyra thought about these humans for weeks, imagining what it would be like to meet them. Perhaps they would accept someone like her. Perhaps they would see value in her curiosity instead of dismissing it as a flaw. One morning, a message arrived through the interstellar communication system, announcing that a human starship would visit the neighboring system for trade and diplomacy. The ship was said to be enormous, with advanced technology and a crew of humans eager to explore new worlds. Lyra could hardly contain her excitement. For the first time, she felt a spark of hope, a possibility that her life could change. The days that followed were a mixture of planning and apprehension. Boarding a shuttle to reach the human vessel was not without risk. Thalurian society frowned on unsanctioned travel, especially to unknown species, but Lyra could not ignore the pull she felt. Every morning she practiced the small routines she would need, hiding her presence on the shuttle, mimicking the movement of cargo bots, and memorizing the routes she would take to reach the port. She knew her heart raced with both fear and anticipation. The thought of rejection terrified her. Yet the idea of remaining trapped on Thalura, feeling invisible and unwanted, was unbearable. When the day finally came, Lyra moved with careful precision. The shuttle bay was quiet, only the hum of distant machines filling the air. She slipped past the automated gates, using a small maintenance corridor she had discovered weeks earlier. Her pulse quickened as she approached the small cargo shuttle that would take her out of Thalura and toward the unknown. She knew that once she left, there would be no turning back. Yet a part of her felt alive in a way she had never known. She was leaving not just her home, but the weight of loneliness itself. The shuttle lifted off with a gentle roar, breaking free of Thalura's atmosphere. Lyra pressed her hands against the cold metal walls, staring at her planet shrinking behind her. The golden cities became dots of light, the sprawling landscapes fading into a vast, dark canvas. She felt a strange mixture of sorrow and exhilaration. Home was behind her, yes, but so were the chains that had bound her. Ahead lay something uncertain, but something promising. After hours of travel through the cold emptiness of space, Lyra saw it. The human starship loomed ahead, massive and alive with lights and movement. Its design was unlike anything she had imagined. Sleek, angular, yet strangely organic, as if it had grown from the universe itself, rather than been built by hands. Lyra's breath caught. She had never seen anything so vast, so full of possibility. As the shuttle docked, Lyra's hands trembled. She had rehearsed what she would say if anyone confronted her. But now she found herself silent, overwhelmed by the reality of being so close. The docking bay's airlock hissed open, and for a moment, she hesitated. Then she took a deep breath and stepped out, revealing herself to the humans on board. Captain Elias was the first to notice her. He was tall, with calm eyes that seemed to look not just at her form but at her mind. Instead of reacting with suspicion or alarm, he simply smiled and gestured for her to follow. Lyra froze. She had expected anger, questions, perhaps even confinement, but not kindness. This human's demeanor was unlike anything she had encountered. It was gentle, patient, and real. The humans aboard the ship were diverse. Some had bright hair, others darker skin, and their clothing varied in ways that reflected individual choice rather than strict societal rules. They moved with energy, speaking and laughing, helping one another in ways that seemed spontaneous yet organized. Lyra had never witnessed such freedom. She felt a strange sense of awe and trepidation. She was an outsider, but here, her difference did not seem threatening. Captain Elias knelt slightly to meet her eyes. "You're far from home," he said softly. His voice was warm, and it carried an unspoken question. "Are you ready to be seen for who you are?" Lyra's voice caught in her throat. She nodded, unsure how to speak. Finally, she whispered, I don't belong there. I don't belong anywhere." Elias's smile did not waver. "Then maybe it's time you find a place where you do." Those words, so simple yet profound, ignited a feeling within her that she had never experienced. Hope. The human did not dismiss her, did not judge her for her differences, and did not expect her to conform immediately. He saw her. For the first time, someone truly saw her. Over the next few hours, Lyra wandered the corridors of the ship, observing, learning, and slowly beginning to feel at home. Humans approached her with curiosity rather than suspicion, asking gentle questions, laughing at small misunderstandings, and sharing stories of places and experiences she could not yet imagine. She found herself laughing, too, and it was startling how natural it felt. As the ship moved through space, Lyra found a quiet corner to sit and look out at the stars. They stretched endlessly, full of mystery and possibility. For the first time, she imagined not just the worlds beyond her own, but a future in which she belonged, a life in which her curiosity and difference were strengths rather than weaknesses. She was no longer merely an observer of life, she was part of it. Though the journey was only beginning, Lyra felt a deep sense of relief. For the first time, she was not alone. A human had offered her more than safety. He had offered her recognition, understanding, and the spark of hope that she had longed for all her life. The stars seemed to shine brighter now, each one a promise of a universe that might finally welcome her. Lyra pressed her hand against the glass of the observation deck, letting the stars reflect in her wide, hopeful eyes. She had left everything she knew behind. But in doing so, she had discovered something she had never truly had before: the chance to belong. And for the first time in her life, Lyra allowed herself to believe that belonging was possible. Not on Thalura, But among the stars and the humans who had shown her that home was more than a place, it was a feeling, a connection, a hope worth following. Lyra had never felt such a mix of fear and excitement as she did on the human ship. The corridors were wide and filled with light, the walls alive with softly glowing panels and humming machinery. Everything moved with purpose, yet it lacked the rigid order of Thalura. The humans laughed, argued, and helped one another freely, creating an energy that Lyra found both confusing and fascinating. She walked cautiously, unsure where she belonged or if she even had a right to be here. Captain Elias, the human who had first welcomed her, appeared beside her without warning. He had a calm presence, the kind that seemed to settle the chaos inside her. "You seem nervous," he said gently, studying her face. I am," Lyra admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is all new to me. I do not know what to do." Elias smiled, and it was the kind of smile that made her feel safe, as if no mistake could truly harm her. "Then start by watching. Observe. Learn how we move, how we work, and when you feel ready, try something small. We'll help you." Lyra nodded, her heart pounding. She wanted to trust him, wanted to believe that there could be a place for her here. But the fear of rejection still lingered. On Thalura, standing out often meant being ostracized. Here, she realized, standing out might mean something very different. It might mean being valued. The first human Lyra encountered after Elias was a technician named Mara. Mara was short, quick, and full of energy, moving through the ship, checking systems and speaking rapidly into a small communication device. When she noticed Lyra watching from the corridor, she paused. "Hey," she said, her tone friendly. "Are you new here?" Lyra hesitated. Words in Thalurian were easy for her, but human language felt heavy and unfamiliar on her tongue. Yes," she said finally. "I am Lyra. I do not belong to this place. I am learning." Mara blinked but did not laugh or scold her. Instead, she smiled. "Don't worry. We all start somewhere. You'll get the hang of it. Want me to show you around?" Relief flooded through Lyra. Someone was treating her like she belonged. She nodded eagerly. Mara led her through the ship, explaining the purpose of different rooms, the crew's routines, and even some of the ship's technology. Lyra was amazed at the humans' adaptability. They combined logic with intuition in ways her people never did. They fixed problems with hands, minds, and sometimes a bit of daring. For the first time, Lyra realized that learning did not have to be a solitary task. Here, humans shared knowledge freely. They taught one another, made mistakes, and laughed when things went wrong. It was messy, chaotic, and alive. And Lyra found herself fascinated. Over the next few days, Lyra practiced small tasks under Mara's guidance. She helped adjust minor ship systems, delivered messages between crew members, and observed how humans handled conflicts. At first, she felt clumsy and unsure. Her hands moved differently than theirs. Her instincts were shaped by the order of Thalura, and sometimes she misread human gestures. But the humans were patient. They corrected gently, encouraged often, and celebrated even small successes. Each accomplishment, no matter how minor, made Lyra's chest swell with pride. Captain Elias visited her often, checking on her progress. He asked about her experiences, listened to her observations, and shared stories of humans he had met on other worlds. Lyra found comfort in his presence. He never judged her mistakes or questioned her curiosity. Instead, he seemed to understand the silent struggles she had carried for so long. For the first time, Lyra realized that someone could see her for who she truly was and still believe in her. One evening, as the ship traveled through a dense asteroid field, the crew faced a minor crisis. A sensor panel malfunctioned, giving false readings that could have caused the ship to collide with debris. Panic began to ripple through some crew members, but Lyra remembered her studies on Thalurian technology. Drawing on her unique knowledge of systems and patterns, she suggested a sequence of adjustments that corrected the sensor errors. The humans watched her, eyes wide, as the ship's systems stabilized. "You did that?" Mara asked, her voice full of awe. Lyra nodded, feeling a thrill she had never known on Thalura. I think I understand these patterns." Captain Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "You are learning fast, Lyra. And you are contributing. That's how we find our place here. Not by fitting perfectly, but by sharing what makes us unique." The words sank deep into Lyra's heart. For years, she had believed that she was too different to belong anywhere. But here, on this ship full of humans who valued her curiosity and perspective, she felt the first hint of true belonging. Days turned into weeks as Lyra continued to explore, learn, and adapt. She discovered that humans were not perfect, they argued, made mistakes, and sometimes acted irrationally, but their kindness, resilience, and willingness to support one another fascinated her. She saw the value of freedom, the beauty of choice, and the strength in embracing individuality. One afternoon, while the ship drifted near a luminous nebula, Lyra found herself on the observation deck with Captain Elias once more. She watched the swirling colors of gas and light, thinking of her homeworld, her loneliness, and the strange journey that had brought her here. "Do you miss Thalura?" Elias asked softly. Lyra nodded, a pang of longing passing through her. Sometimes. But I have learned something important here. Home is not only a place. It is people who see you, who understand you. I think I may be finding that here." Elias smiled. "You are. And you'll continue to find it. Not because you try to fit in, but because you are yourself." The days that followed brought new challenges. Lyra was asked to assist in mapping a newly discovered planet in a distant system. The task was complex and required careful calculations, observation, and coordination with the human crew. At first, she worried she would fail. The humans seemed so confident, so accustomed to their methods. Could she, an outsider, really contribute meaningfully? Yet when the moment came, Lyra found herself drawing on her Thalurian training and her growing understanding of human methods. She suggested alternative approaches that combined precision with creative problem-solving. The humans listened, debated, and eventually adopted her suggestions. The mapping mission succeeded beyond expectations. Mara clapped her hands in delight. "See? You're not just learning. You're helping us see things differently." "That's incredible." Lyra felt a warmth spreading through her chest. For the first time, she realized that her differences were not a curse, they were a gift. The very traits that had made her feel out of place on Thalura were exactly what made her valuable here. As the ship continued its journey, Lyra also began forming friendships. She shared meals with Mara and other crew members, laughed at their jokes, and even taught them small pieces of her language. She found herself caring for them, and they cared for her in return. Bonds of trust and companionship grew slowly but surely. Lyra began to understand a profound truth. Belonging was not about being the same as everyone else. It was about being seen, accepted, and valued for who she truly was. One night, while the ship passed through the quiet vastness of space, Lyra found herself awake in her small quarters, thinking of the life she had left behind. She remembered the golden spires of Thalura, the endless rules, and the isolation that had weighed on her. And yet, she also remembered the first human smile she had seen, the laughter of the crew, and the feeling of contributing to something larger than herself. She realized that she had not just left Thalura behind. She had begun to leave behind the doubt, fear, and loneliness that had defined her existence. Captain Elias entered her quarters quietly, carrying a small device that projected images of nearby stars and planets. "I thought you might like to see these," he said. "They remind me of the possibilities out there. And now, you are part of that exploration." Lyra gazed at the stars, their light reflecting in her wide eyes. I never imagined it could feel like this," she said softly. "I never imagined a place where I could matter, where I could belong." Elias nodded. "It exists. You've found it, Lyra. And there's still so much more to see. to learn, and to share. You are just beginning. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt a deep, unwavering sense of hope. She realized that belonging was not a destination, but a journey she would travel with people who had chosen to see her for who she was. The loneliness that had once defined her existence began to fade, replaced by anticipation, curiosity, and the thrill of possibility. She spent the rest of the night gazing at the stars, imagining the worlds she would visit, the lessons she would learn, and the bonds she would form. For the first time, she felt a sense of freedom that Thallura could never have offered. She had found a place where she was valued, a place where her voice mattered, and a place where hope had taken root. Lyra's heart swelled with quiet determination. She would embrace this new life, not as an imitation of those around her, but as herself, curious, different, and ready to explore the universe. She had left home to find something she had never known she was missing. And now, for the first time, she knew she had found it. Connection, purpose, and belonging. The human starship sailed onward through the endless darkness, carrying her toward a future bright with possibilities. Lyra understood, finally, that no matter where she came from, or how different she was, there was a place for her in the galaxy. She had been lost, yes, but she was no longer alone. She had hope, she had friends, and she had the stars themselves to guide her, and that was more than enough. Life aboard the human starship had begun to feel almost normal to Lyra, though she knew it would never truly be normal in the way Thallura had defined normal. Each day brought new routines, new tasks, and new lessons. She moved with a growing confidence, helping the crew with repairs, mapping missions, and data analysis. Yet, despite her progress, Lyra often felt the quiet weight of being different. Her alien instincts and Thallurian logic sometimes clashed with the humans' unpredictable methods. There were moments when she doubted herself, wondering if she truly belonged. Captain Elias noticed these moments. He would sometimes find her sitting alone in the observation deck, staring at the stars with a distant look. "You're thinking too much," he said once, settling beside her. "You worry about fitting in, about doing everything perfectly. You don't have to. You belong because you try, because you care, and because you are willing to learn." Lyra nodded but did not speak. She wanted to believe him, and deep down, she did. Yet old habits die slowly. She had spent her life trying to blend in, trying to measure herself against impossible standards, and it was not easy to break that pattern. One day, the ship received an urgent message. A nearby planet had been hit by a massive solar flare, and the communications hub there was failing. The human crew was tasked with assisting the planet's emergency systems, stabilizing energy grids, and helping with basic infrastructure. It was a dangerous mission, and the humans were tense. Lyra felt the familiar flutter of fear, but she also felt something new. Determination. "This is your chance, Lyra," Captain Elias said as he briefed the crew. "Your knowledge of alien systems can make a difference. We'll guide you. But we need you to step up." The moment the shuttle left the ship and descended toward the planet, Lyra's nerves tightened. She was used to observing, to helping in minor ways, but now she would face a real test. The surface below was a mix of jagged rocks and fractured cities, lit by the harsh glow of residual solar energy. Lyra took a deep breath and reminded herself of what she had learned. Humans were resilient, adaptable, and generous. She had seen them face danger calmly, and she could do the same. The ground team moved quickly, with humans checking systems, securing energy nodes, and coordinating with local planetary engineers. Lyra was assigned to assist with the energy distribution controls, a task that required precision and knowledge of both human and alien technologies. Her hands shook at first as she interfaced with the controls, adjusting flow rates and stabilizing damaged circuits. The humans around her watched expectantly, but they did not rush or criticize. They trusted her. Minutes felt like hours, but slowly, Lyra's confidence grew. she discovered ways to merge her Tellurian understanding of system harmonics with the human engineering methods. One by one, the energy nodes stabilized, and the damaged communication arrays began to function again. The humans cheered quietly, their relief palpable. Lyra felt a rush of pride unlike anything she had ever experienced. She was making a tangible difference. "Excellent work, Lyra," Captain Elias said as he approached, his eyes warm with pride. "You see? Your knowledge and your courage matter. You are part of this crew, part of this mission, and part of this world. Even if it is far from Thallura." For the first time, Lyra truly understood the power of contribution. Belonging, she realized, was not just about acceptance, it was about action, about showing courage, and about sharing one's unique abilities with those who needed them. Her differences were no longer a barrier. They were her strength. As the team returned to the starship, Lyra felt a quiet transformation taking place within her. She was no longer the alien who felt out of place, the one who wandered lonely corridors on Thallura. She was part of a team, a family of humans and fellow explorers who valued her, respected her, and trusted her. Each smile, each word of encouragement, each small victory reinforced the feeling that she had finally found a place in the galaxy where she mattered. But life aboard the ship was not without its challenges. Some humans were cautious or skeptical about her abilities, unsure of how to relate to someone so different. They questioned her decisions, sometimes even in ways that felt dismissive. Lyra felt the sting of those moments. The old fear of rejection bubbling up. She could have withdrawn, but instead, she chose to face it. During a maintenance cycle, one human engineer, named Tarek, openly questioned her adjustment of a navigation system. "Are you sure this will work?" he asked, his tone sharp. Lyra's pulse quickened. She could feel the familiar panic rising, the instinct to retreat. But then she remembered the lessons of the past weeks. She had knowledge that was valuable, and she had the right to contribute. "Yes," she said firmly, her voice steady. "This system will stabilize the route. It aligns human calculations with Thallurian harmonics. I've checked it 3 times. Tarek looked at her skeptically but did not argue further. The system worked perfectly, and even he had to nod in acknowledgement. Lyra felt a quiet triumph. She had defended her abilities without arrogance, and she had proven herself. Over time, these small victories built her confidence. She learned to navigate human social cues, to anticipate challenges, and to find her voice in a world that was initially foreign. Her Thallurian upbringing gave her precision and insight, while her experiences with humans gave her flexibility and courage. The combination made her stronger, more capable, and more resilient than she had ever imagined. One day, while exploring a newly discovered asteroid field for potential resources, the ship encountered unexpected turbulence. Small meteor fragments began colliding with the hull, and the crew scrambled to assess damage. Lyra worked alongside Mara and other crew members, directing energy shields and reinforcing sections of the ship. Her quick thinking and knowledge of structural harmonics prevented significant damage. The humans marveled at her ability to remain calm under pressure, to make decisions quickly, and to combine logic with intuition. "You handled that brilliantly," Mara said, her usual playful tone replaced with genuine admiration. "I wasn't sure anyone could react that fast." Lyra allowed herself a small smile. "I learned from you all. From watching, listening, and trying. I am grateful for the chance." Her words reflected a profound change. She had begun to see herself not as an outsider, but as a vital part of something larger than herself. She realized that belonging was not about erasing differences but about embracing them, using them to contribute, and finding those who valued her for who she truly was. At night, Lyra would often return to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the glass, vast and mysterious, yet no longer intimidating. She would reflect on her journey, the loneliness of Thallura, the quiet desperation she had felt, and the first spark of hope that Captain Elias and the humans had given her. Each reflection strengthened her resolve to continue growing, learning, and exploring. One evening, Captain Elias joined her, holding a small device projecting images of distant planets. "These worlds are waiting," he said softly. "You've already made a difference in ways you may not fully realize. There's more out there, and I think you're ready for it." Lyra looked at him, her heart swelling. I think I am," she admitted. "I have learned much already, and yet I know there is still more. I feel stronger now. I feel like I belong." Elias nodded, smiling warmly. "You do. And the journey is only beginning. Each challenge will teach you something new. Each success will remind you that you are valued, and each step will show you that home is not only a place, but also the people who believe in you." As the ship sailed further into uncharted space, Lyra embraced the truth she had discovered. That courage, curiosity, and willingness to act were keys to belonging. The galaxy was vast, filled with dangers and wonders alike. But she now understood that she was capable, strong, and not alone. Humans had given her a chance, but she had found within herself the ability to rise to that chance. Over the following weeks, Lyra continued to grow. She trained in advanced navigation, learned human customs, and shared her own Tellurian knowledge with the crew. Her unique perspective allowed the humans to approach problems differently, often leading to solutions they had not considered. She became indispensable not just for her skills, but for the optimism and hope she brought to the crew. And yet, despite all these accomplishments, she remained humble. Lyra understood that growth was continuous, that every mission brought new lessons, and that the universe was vast and full of mysteries she had yet to discover. The humility she carried allowed her to connect deeply with the humans around her, earning their trust and respect. One morning, after a successful mission stabilizing an energy anomaly near a distant moon, Lyra found herself standing alongside Captain Elias on the observation deck. The ship moved silently through space, the stars streaking past in long trails of light. "You've come a long way," Elias said, his voice calm and proud. Lyra nodded, a soft smile on her face. "Yes, I have. And I feel at home, in a way I never imagined possible. I am no longer the Lyra who felt lost and alone. I am part of something greater." Elias's eyes softened. "And that, Lyra, is what makes you human enough to belong here and alien enough to make a difference." For the first time, Lyra truly believed it. She had faced challenges, overcome doubts, and discovered the power of contribution, courage, and connection. She had learned that differences were not weaknesses, that trust could be earned and given, and that home could be found even among the stars. As the ship sailed onward, carrying her into the unknown, Lyra felt a deep, abiding sense of hope. She knew that more trials awaited, that dangers and surprises were part of the journey. But she also knew she was ready. The humans had given her guidance, friendship, and belief. She had given them insight, courage, and dedication. Together, they formed a bond that transcended worlds and species. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt the quiet certainty of belonging. She understood that her journey was far from over, but she also understood that she was not lost. She was home. And hope, once a distant spark, now burned brightly within her. The stars stretched endlessly beyond the ship's observation deck. But Lyra no longer felt lost in their vastness. She had grown in ways she had never imagined possible, learning to blend her Tellurian knowledge with the human's adaptability, discovering strength in her differences, and understanding that belonging was built through courage, trust, and connection. Yet she knew the journey was far from over. The alert system sounded sharply, pulling her and the crew from the calm of their routines. A distant planet, part of an uncharted system, had reported a sudden, violent energy surge. Preliminary scans indicated that a nearby mining colony was in danger, and the anomaly could destabilize the planet's orbit if left unchecked. The humans scrambled to prepare, and Lyra felt the familiar flutter of tension and anticipation in her chest. Captain Elias approached her, his eyes calm but focused. "Lyra, this is a critical mission. Your knowledge of alien systems and harmonics may be essential. Are you ready?" Lyra straightened, her resolve hardening. "I am ready," she replied. She had faced uncertainty and danger before, but this was larger, more dangerous. Yet fear no longer controlled her. Determination did. The ship dropped out of warp near the planet, revealing a rocky world bathed in a pale, flickering light. The energy surge glowed like a storm trapped within the planet's crust, sending pulses that disrupted electronic systems and scattered mining equipment. The colony's small settlements appeared fragile and vulnerable. Lyra's heart clenched. For the first time, the stakes felt profoundly personal. Lives were at risk, and she could help save them. The landing shuttle carried her, Elias, and a team of engineers to the surface. The air was thick with charged particles, making movement slow and careful. Lyra observed the human crew, their expressions focused yet calm, and realized that she too had been transformed. She could approach danger with a steady mind, calculate risks quickly, and act decisively. She was no longer the uncertain, lonely alien who had first boarded the human ship. At the colony, chaos reigned. Machinery sparked and hummed erratically, miners struggled to secure equipment, and the ground trembled with the unpredictable energy waves. Lyra moved to the central energy node, her Tellurian training guiding her hands as she assessed the system. The humans had tried stabilizing it, but their methods alone were insufficient. The harmonic fluctuations required a deeper understanding of resonance, something Lyra could sense and manipulate. "Lyra, be careful," Elias called, but he trusted her implicitly. She nodded, closing her eyes briefly as she focused. Her hands moved over the controls, adjusting energy flows, aligning pulses, and countering the chaotic surges. Slowly, the node's erratic behavior began to stabilize. Sparks diminished, hums became steady, and the trembling of the ground lessened. The humans watched in awe as Lyra orchestrated the system, her alien intuition complementing their technical expertise. Mara moved beside her, assisting where she could, but it was Lyra's insight that turned the tide. When the final adjustment was made, the node glowed steadily, radiating controlled energy. The colony was safe for now. Cheers erupted from the humans and the colonists alike. Lyra's heart pounded, a mixture of exhilaration and relief. She had faced real danger and succeeded. Captain Elias placed a hand on her shoulder, his pride evident. "You've done more than I could have expected." "You saved them." Lyra shook her head, overwhelmed. "We saved them. I could not have done it alone. You all trusted me, guided me. I could act because of you." Elias smiled. "And that, Lyra, is why you belong. Not because you are perfect, not because you always know the answers, but because you face challenges, contribute, and grow alongside others." The following days were filled with reflection and recovery. The crew worked tirelessly to repair damaged equipment, restore power to the colony, and assist the miners. Lyra felt a sense of accomplishment, unlike any she had known. She had contributed in a way that mattered, not just to the humans, but to lives that depended on their courage and skill. She realized that belonging was more than friendship. It was shared purpose, mutual respect, and the knowledge that her presence could make a difference. Yet the experience left her thoughtful. She had found acceptance among the humans, but she also knew the universe was vast and unpredictable. Challenges would continue to arise, and she would need to continue learning, adapting, and trusting herself. The fear she had once carried, the fear of being useless, of being different, had been replaced by a quiet strength. She understood now that differences were not weaknesses. They were the tools that allowed her to shine where others could not. One evening, as the ship sailed through a calm region of space, Lyra found herself on the observation deck once more. Captain Elias joined her, carrying a small tablet showing schematics of distant star systems. "You've grown a lot, Lyra," he said quietly. "Do you remember when you first came aboard?" She smiled faintly, recalling the fear, the uncertainty, and the hope she had felt. "I do. I was lost. I did not know if I belonged anywhere, if I had a place in the universe. But now, I feel different. I feel at home." Elias nodded. "Home is not a single place. It is a feeling, built from trust, contribution, and connection. You have found that here, among us, and through what you do. You are home, Lyra, wherever you are willing to share yourself. Her heart swelled with emotion. For the first time, she truly understood that home was not a planet, a city, or a set of rules. Home was the people who saw her, trusted her, and allowed her to matter. The humans had offered her this gift, and she had embraced it fully. In the weeks that followed, Lyra continued to explore her role aboard the ship. She trained new crew members in system harmonics, advised on navigation strategies, and even helped plan missions to planets previously considered unreachable. Her confidence grew, and her presence became integral to the crew's success. Humans and aliens alike came to rely on her insight, her calm under pressure, and her unique perspective. The ship encountered new wonders and dangers. Asteroid fields, energy storms, and mysterious signals from distant worlds. In every situation, Lyra applied what she had learned, combining Tellurian precision with human creativity and adaptability. Each challenge strengthened her, each mission deepened her sense of purpose, and each success reinforced her feeling of belonging. One day, while charting a newly discovered nebula, Lyra reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She remembered the loneliness of Tellura, the fear of being different, and the uncertainty that had accompanied her departure. And yet, each memory was tempered by gratitude. She had been given a chance to belong, to matter, and to hope. Humans had opened a door, but she had walked through it with courage and curiosity. Creating a home for herself among the stars, Captain Elias appeared beside her once more, his gaze following the swirling colors of the nebula. "You've changed, Lyra," he said softly. "You've faced fear, learned, grown, and contributed. And in doing so, you've inspired all of us." Lyra turned to him, eyes bright. "I have, and I will continue to. I have learned that belonging is earned, not by fitting in, but by sharing yourself, by helping others, and by trusting that you have value. I never knew it could feel like this. To be seen, to be needed, to matter." Elias smiled, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "And you do. More than you realize. You've brought hope to us, to the crew, and to the people we help. That is a gift no one else could give." In that moment, Lyra felt a profound sense of peace. The stars stretched endlessly before her, vast and mysterious, but she was no longer afraid of them. The universe was full of unknowns, yes, but she understood that she was capable of meeting them. She had strength, knowledge, and the support of those who believed in her. She had a place in this galaxy. As the ship moved on, Lyra stood at the observation deck, her eyes reflecting the light of distant suns and nebulae. She thought of the friends she had made, the lives she had touched, and the countless possibilities that awaited. She understood now that belonging was not static, it was a journey. A series of moments where trust, courage, and contribution intersected. And in each of those moments, she had found her home. Her mind wandered briefly to Tellura, to the golden spires and structured streets she had left behind. A faint pang of nostalgia touched her heart, but it was not sadness. She realized she had not abandoned her home. She had transcended it. She had grown beyond the limitations she had once felt, discovering a place where her curiosity, courage, and heart were valued. And as the stars continued to pass by, Lyra felt something new, a steady, enduring hope that no matter the challenges ahead, she would face them with strength, with courage, and with the knowledge that she was never truly alone. She had been lost once, but she had been found. She had felt like she belonged nowhere, but now, she belonged everywhere she could contribute, everywhere she could connect, and everywhere she could bring hope. With that thought, she turned to Captain Elias, her mentor and friend, and the rest of the crew who had become her family. "Thank you," she said softly, her voice carrying the weight of sincerity, "for believing in me, for giving me a chance, for home." Home. Elias nodded, his eyes warm. The gift was always yours, Lyra. We just helped you see it. And in that moment, Lyra understood fully. Home was not given, nor was it found. It was created, nurtured, and shared. It lived in the connections she made, the courage she displayed, and the hope she carried forward. She was no longer an outsider, no longer uncertain, no longer lost. She was Lyra, brave, curious, valued, and belonging. The human starship sailed onward into the endless expanse, carrying Lyra toward new worlds, new discoveries, and new opportunities. She had found what she had longed for her entire life. A home among people who saw her, a purpose that mattered, and a hope that would never fade. And as the stars stretched endlessly into infinity, Lyra smiled, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, certain that she would never feel lost again.